And welcome into the Tuesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Hope everybody's off to a fabulous start here on this Tuesday morning. We got a lot to get into on the program here today. The Titans continue to try to rebound from a 52-14 loss to Detroit. Brian Callahan addressing the media yesterday. We'll get into some of that. Vanderbilt in Texas over the weekend. Great game, close game between the Doors and the Longhorns. We'll get into that. And, of course, the Preds in action last night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing terrible. I think I blew my knee out by walking. So I'm on pain meds. I'm on no sleep. I may be worse than normal on the program today. So get ready. May pass out, may say a swear word.
May do both.
Who knows? Yeah, exactly. Right. Maybe, yeah, exactly. I may snore the F word out during the show.
All of these things could happen. I would make sure that you're tuned in today for
that's right. You don't want to miss this.
That's right.
If anybody knows anything about knee injuries, hit us on the text line, drivenbywilsoncounty.com.
We need to know. Is it possible to tear your ACL walking upstairs? That's what we need to figure out today.
I think when you have my body, it is, but we'll see.
Oh, God, I hope not. You killed me. Rexrode killed me about 2 minutes into the show. Keyser, I hope you're doing better than Joe. How are you?
Yeah, I am. But, Joe, I have been there before, not by walking, but I have hurt my knee before.
What'd you do?
Well, was playing hockey and tore my ACL.
You have torn the ACL. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have done it. My left knee. Yep.
Okay.
Been there, done that.
Did you get hit?
No, I hit somebody. And then it was the impact going down. Yeah, I kind of got tied up with the guy my junior year in high school. So it's not fun. It's not fun. But I will say it's weird when you tear it. I was still able to carry my bag over my shoulder out of the building that night, which was very strange. So, but when you tear it, you could still operate without it technically. But it's not advisable.
All right. Well, during the break, I'm going to show you where it hurts. And
boy.
You can give me some
I'm
diagnosis
not a doctor.
as an ACL veteran.
Yeah, we need to know for sure one way or the other, Keyser, and this is up to you. Yeah. So it's time.
Oh, boy.
It's time for you to make yourself useful.
I forgot the name of the test, but you can test a knee to see if it is structurally sound. I forget the name of it, but I'll have to look it up. Yeah.
Okay. Whenever I walk, my leg is not going backward, so I think that's the early bad test.
That's the early diagnosis of Joe might have something torn. Oh boy.
Good job by me.
Were you at least rushing to do something when it happened, or no?
I swear. I at one point yesterday I was like, okay, it hurts, but I've torn my patella tendon and stuff like that. I have jumper's knee, which is a basketball, whatever.
Sure.
But I'm upstairs, kind of hurts. But I went to bed. Not all of a sudden at 1:30 in the morning, it's hurting so much, and I cannot go back to sleep. And I'm like, what? How? When I'm sleeping,
it's weird.
It got worse. How? So, but no, if it happened, if something serious happened, which does feel that way, it seriously was just walking.
Did you play hoops at all recently?
Unfortunately, no. It's been probably 3 weeks. So now this is old man falling apart type stuff.
Well, we wish you the best.
Thank you.
We hope everything's okay.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I guess we'll have an
posted.
update for all the people out there on how Joe's knee is doing at some point. The Nashville Predators back in action last night. They fall 3-2 in overtime against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the 3-game winning streak coming to an end. The point streak still intact. So 4 games in a row that they've picked up at least 1 point. Joe, it was a really cool scene last night. I thought Tampa did an outstanding job with the tribute video for Stamkos, and clearly it was a pretty emotional day for him and time for him, and he took kind of a solo lap after the first TV timeout in the first period. And I thought after that, both teams kind of settled in. Definitely Tampa was better in the first period. I thought basically halfway through the second, from that point on, Predators were better than Tampa Bay was, but ultimately they lose 3-2 in overtime. They are 3-5-1 on the season. Stamkos with a couple of assists last night. Ryan O'Reilly, a power play goal. Gus Nyquist, a goal yet again. But UC Saros, another outstanding performance. So that part of
Yeah.
it is really good.
I think he's all right now.
I think he's doing well.
Kind of, he had some incredible saves, and they need to figure out, first period playing, getting going a little earlier, but still they're playing better. And I agree that the Stamkos thing was awesome. The scene, what they did, and then his reaction and the laugh. That was one of the better ones. I don't know if I've seen a better one than that one.
It was really good.
It was a very good one. And obviously, well, as should be the case, they love him down there.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought it was really well done by them. And look, I think I'm not going to say the Predators have figured out their game, because they're still going through big stretches of a game where, quite frankly, at times it doesn't look like they know what they're doing out there, right? Like the first 20 minutes last night were not good. They kept giving up odd man rushes. And look, Tampa, even without Stamkos, I mean, you've got Gensel and Point and Kucherov. I mean, they're pretty darn good. So you have to factor that in to some of what you saw last night. But I thought it took them about half the game to really get going. And then once they did, they looked pretty good. Like I thought the Predators generated a lot of looks. I mean, Stamkos had the 2 assists last night. He ended up with 6 shots on goal. He had 11 shot attempts. So he took a big step in the right direction last night, just in terms of the way that he played. I kind of expected that. Like, I figured he'd be buzzing a little bit last night, and he was. Right. And he had a glorious chance in overtime to get the storybook ending and win it, put it off the post, and it kind of shot back out the other way, led to another chance. But a point in Tampa Bay, it's 3 games in 4 nights, and you end up with 5 out of 6 points. So you'll take that part of it every time. And, we talked about the 10-game segments, right? And looking at that, you got Edmonton coming up on Thursday. That's game number 10. And it looks like they're going to be without Connor McDavid. So obviously, if that's the case, that is a big break for you if you're the Predators catching it that way. If you can win that game, you're through 10 games and you're 4-5-1. It's not great, but it is avoiding total disaster that we were talking about at 0-5 at that point.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a clear progress too, that's being made. Not there yet, but again, you're not expected to totally be there yet. So, to me, and we didn't really get into Preds at all yesterday, because obviously we had the bleep show over here to get into, but cross tent, whatever. But those 2 wins, there was still like some hockey to not like over the weekend too, but you got them, then you get this point here. So you're kind of, it's DEFCON, whatever it was, has gone to, it's not really a raging siren right now. You've stabilized a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can, when they're on, you can see it. Like, they're going to be a good hockey team. And I think some people have freaked out about it, and I get it. I've tried to lay it out there. Like, Stamkos and Marchessault specifically, like, it's going to take them some time. I've tried to tell people that. I realize they're both really, really good players, and the expectation has been for them to produce more than they have to this point, and they have to produce more than what we've seen moving forward. But I think you have to realize, particularly Stamkos, but both of them really, I mean, they've been in one place for a long time. This is a brand new system, brand new teammates, and they're still trying to find like what lines work and what lines don't. And I really like moving Marchessault up to the top line with Forsberg and O'Reilly. I think that's got a chance to be a really good line. And we'll see about Stamkos. They're still searching for that. I mean, they put him with Novak and Nyquist, and then last night in the middle of the game, Brunette switched again and moved Sissons back up there with him and Nyquist. So they're still searching for somebody to play center at that spot.
Stamkos and Nyquist with a big connection on the time goal. So, you got that going for you. But, yeah, I feel like that spot centering that line is just going to keep rotating until maybe there's someone else.
I feel like that could possibly be the case. But Stamkos, I thought last night, he's been dangerous on the power play all year, and they've been overpassing to him. We've talked about that. But he's been dangerous on the power play all year. I thought 5-on-5 last night, he was excellent. I think he was really, really good. So you're hoping, and I realize the circumstances for him surrounding that game, you're hoping that starts to unlock some chances 5-on-5 for him moving forward. And if it does, then I think they're going to be fine. Like right now, their biggest problem is they got to figure out what's going on with some of their defensive zone stuff, like either or taking care of the puck and giving up odd man rushes. Those are the two things right now that are just killing them, and that they go through lapses every game where either they're getting walked in the defensive zone. The fourth line was awful last night. LaRue, McCarron, Smith. I think they spent the whole game in the defensive zone. It was not very good. So you got to get that part of it figured out. You got to start taking care of the puck a little bit better. They're giving up way too much in terms of odd man rushes. You get that part of it figured out, I think the offense is going to be fine. I think the offense will take care of itself eventually.
Yeah, I mean, Stamkos is going to, he's going to have like a tear at some point here soon. Would be my prediction. Maybe a Forsberg for Preds fans who know when he goes on a hot streak. It just you can see it coming. And Saros, second star last week?
Yeah,
I mean, if they won
in the
last
league
night, the way he played, working on first star type stuff with what he did last night with some of his saves.
He was the second star. Good old Matt Duchene was the third star in the NHL last week.
How about that?
Putting in a lot of goals so far this year.
Going well for him.
It is.
It's worked out well for all parties. Really.
It's going nicely for him in Dallas. Josh from Cookville. Stamkos and this is Dustin from Hopkinsville. Stamkos and Evangelista were together for a minute. Stamkos hit a one-timer from it. It looked good. Josh from Cookville says, the guy calling Stamkos a bum on your Twitter last night, Robbie, made me chuckle. Just ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Well, we did get some of that. I have more to say about all that at 7:45.
Oh, yes. He's a bum.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So this guy is the guy that has just forgotten how to play hockey. All good.
Pred's Twitter.
Yep. Brett's Twitter was on one for a time last night. And it's been on one for basically the start of the season. I'm looking forward to 7:45 today.
Just, to be fair, for the people who are both Preds and Titans fans, there is a little bit of one can can sort of aggravate the other.
There's no doubt.
So keep that in mind.
There has to be some sympathy that's involved in this discussion, I think. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. We got a busy first hour for you. We're going to cover the Preds, the Titans, the Vols, and Vanderbilt all in the first hour. That's what we do here on this program. I like it.
That's strong.
We got the Titans coming up next. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in David to the program. David, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. First off, thank goodness we have the Preds. The Titans have not been anything to cheer for, but overall, I don't think the sky's fallen with them. I've been pretty happy with their recent production. But the thing that really frustrates me the most was evident last night in the first period. The Lightning came out just attacking, and our guys just seemed kind of tired and just tapping the puck around, very weak passing, and just about every time I see them play with that kind of lack of emotion, to me, I think they're just going to lose, and it gets a little frustrating. I know they've had a long stretch and recently and getting back in the swing of things, but I just wish they'd come out with a little bit more aggressiveness. But otherwise, I feel good about their season and just looking forward to Thursday night's game. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks for the call, David. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, they're not where they need to be in terms of their overall game. And I was a little surprised that they were as slow out of the gate last night as they were. I thought the energy in the building, just the circumstances, would be more conducive to them coming out hot last night, and they did. Now, they eventually got there. I mean, look, you can view this a couple different ways. Number one, you've been down multiple goals for 3 games in a row, so you obviously have to figure out how to stop that because that's not a long-term recipe for success. You have also come back from down 2 goals 3 games in a row. You won Friday down 2 goals. You won Saturday down 2 goals. And yesterday you didn't win, but you at least got it to overtime and got the point. So they have proven that they can come back in these games, and they're starting to figure it out as the game goes. But no doubt about it, Joe, they got to start to play better out of the gate.
Yeah, imagine if they can just tread water for a period and then play like that,
They win a lot of games.
They'd be in great shape.
No doubt about it. So we'll see Thursday if the Predators can slay what has become somewhat of a dragon to them in the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, if McDavid
the
can't go.
fire-breathing face is not there.
Yeah, if McDavid can't go, while they still have
the other guy
Draisaitl
actually kills them more than him, though.
and Hyman and Ekholm and all these guys, obviously, if they don't have McDavid, that is a massive loss. So we'll see what that looks like on Thursday coming up. Brian Callahan addressing the media yesterday with the Tennessee Titans. Joe, we got off the air yesterday, and we wondered, could there be a move coming at special teams? Would Colt Anderson make it through the day yesterday, still employed by the Tennessee Titans? The answer is yes. And Brian Callahan was asked about Colt Anderson and special teams yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
That Colt can turn the special teams unit around?
I mean, Colt's played a lot of football in the NFL too. He played for 8 years as a player. He was under one of the best special teams coaches in football, I think, in Darren Simmons in Cincinnati. So he's got the experience and the wherewithal to understand where the special teams issues are. And then you got Anthony Levine in there with him, who also has seen a lot and played a lot and under John Harbaugh in Baltimore. So those guys got great special teams experience. They understand what they're looking at and what there is, and we have to do a better job all the way around. But those guys know special teams, and they know what the solutions are, and we have to make sure we implement them and do them. Because I think they're good young coaches, but again, they're young coaches too, just like there's a couple of us are, and we have to do a better job all the way around.
So that was Brian Callahan explaining the faith that he has in Colt Anderson yesterday at his press conference. I mean, I would assume, Joe, at this point, now that he's gone through the press conference and he talked about watching film with Colt Anderson and trying to correct the problems that they've seen, I would assume there's no move coming this week for Colt Anderson at this point.
I think you'd be correct in assuming. And, you can go – I mean, I could take this a little further than maybe I should, but I look at that and I wonder if this signifies that Amy, in general, overall, is going to be very patient.
Maybe. But
I don't know.
It's funny you bring that up because Callahan was asked.
What a segue.
About how patient Amy Adams-Strunk could be yesterday, and I thought his answer was pretty interesting. Here's what Brian Callahan had to say.
How patient has Amy been through this process as you guys go through these struggles?
Yeah, look, none of us are that patient, And again, any conversation with her, I'll leave between us. But at the end of the day, we communicate, we speak, we talk. All of us, between Rand and Chad and myself and Amy, we have the conversations that we need to have. We lay it out. There's no sugarcoating anything, and we know what what the plan is and where we're headed and how we're going to get there. But yeah, those things are it's all part of it, and it's all you're only as patient as what it's the NFL. There's not a lot of patience anywhere in the NFL, and we got to find a way to get better.
So nobody's that patient. Not a lot of patience in the NFL. Brian Callahan threw that out there yesterday. It's just a really interesting situation that he finds himself in right now. But, it is an interesting point you bring up. I mean, if there was a time in a game where you could justify a firing of a special teams coach, it was probably that one on Sunday. And the fact that it doesn't look like that's going to happen, does that signal something from Amy Adams-Strunk?
Yeah, because look, I just based on, first of all, again, it's very early. It's very early in the season. It's very early, and it's the very beginning of this coaching staff's tenure. I never, like we were talking yesterday, like, do you think he'll be fired? I mean, I never really thought that Brian Callahan would be like, yeah, he's got to go.
Right.
He hired him. Obviously, it's an embarrassing day of mistakes, and it's been an embarrassing start on special teams. Like, there's no sugarcoating how bad it's been. But to me, if it was going to happen, it was going to be because Brian, as you like to do.
Brian, we need you to go ahead and tell Colt to pack up his bags, please. We need him to leave the facility immediately. Thank you, Brian.
Amy is a horse person. Maybe she likes his name, Colt.
Well,
cool name,
maybe she watched that play that you brought up yesterday between the Patriots and the Colts, where they just got him killed out there and was like, you know what, this guy's been through enough already. We don't need to go ahead and add a firing to it.
Skylar says Amy fires people on Tuesday. That did happen with J-Rod.
That is true.
Is that the day Vrabel got fired too?
I think Vrabel got fired on Monday, but it was kind of like Black Monday around the league. It's a little different.
I think that's right. Yeah. So, but yeah, like that to me, in all seriousness, that's like had to be some part of the equation if he was actually going to be fired. So it moves on. I mean, you talk about like this week in particular, but I mean, the rest of the season. Like, I think there's probably more interest in just, can the Titans not be the bad news Bears when it's kicking game time? Like, seriously.
That's what it's turned into.
This is a huge week for Colt Anderson because, like Brian Callahan said, he knows what he's looking at. And like I said yesterday, there's, I haven't broken down these plays in detail on what it can be. Sometimes it is one guy who screws it up. But like when it happens over and over again, either you have the wrong guys, you're not teaching. Like there's something on the coaching aspect that is just flat out not working.
There's no doubt. I mean, we can excuse it all we want, but the coaching.
That's why you're paid to do that.
Definitely a part of this. I mean, there's no doubt. Now, Callahan was asked yesterday about, could you put more starters on the unit, right? And could that be something you do? And he basically said, look, we'll consider anything at this point. I mean, I guess, Joe, I would probably still be surprised if there's just like starting offensive and defensive players out there left and right on the special teams unit, because you don't want to get somebody hurt doing that. But like, you also can't give up 300 yards of return yards every week.
Yeah, I get that. I get the question, and you do see, like, I think in college football, you'll see some teams where they really love special teams and they'll have some of their key stars just because they're so good at it. At the NFL level, like, there are guys who can play special teams. There are a bunch of people who make careers out of being core special teams players. So maybe this goes back to a roster thing and they didn't emphasize that enough. I mean, I think you could make that case. Well, I mean, look, one decision they made was at running back, right? Chestnut, whereas Haskins is kind of a guy who was going to make it as a core special teams guy. Maybe that's the whole key. Hassan Haskins would have been out there making all these tackles. He is a good special teams player, but there are guys who can play special teams in the NFL. I'm confident in that. And again, if they are coached well and they are cohesive and they know what they're doing, then you should be fine.
Not that it's been great all year, because it hasn't. It's been bad all year. Not that bad on Sunday, but bad all year. But I will say, NWI all of a sudden starts playing a bunch of wide receiver, maybe not as much special teams, and now they can't cover a punt.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
He might be the one guy. He might be the one guy that you have to say, all right, man,
you're never leaving the field.
Make NWI your Travis Hunter. Put him at safety too.
I bet he'd do a pretty good job.
He might have been able to stop that Jahmyr Gibbs 70-yard run. He might have been able to take
Couldn't have been worse
angle on it. So
could not have been worse. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get back into the Titans coming up next hour. Coming up next, we'll get into Vanderbilt and Texas over the weekend. Another good showing from Vanderbilt, but Texas pulls it out in the end. What do we make of that game? And what does it mean for Vanderbilt moving forward? We'll get into all that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, a very entertaining game on Saturday between Texas and Vanderbilt. Texas walks away with a 27-24 win. So no repeat of what we saw a few weeks ago with Vanderbilt taking down Alabama with the biggest win in the history of their program, but a very good showing against a very good Texas team. 27-24, the final. Diego Pavia, 16 of 29, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 2 interceptions in the game. Pavia, 16 carries for 67 yards as well, and a touchdown. And, like, clearly, he took off running one time, got his ankle rolled up on, and clearly was not completely healthy after that. But overall, I thought a good showing, again, for Vanderbilt. You're talking about a 3-point loss to Texas. The Georgia State loss that is still mystifying to me as to how that happened. The Missouri loss, where they were right there to win and should have won the game. I mean, they've been in or won every single game that they played, and no different on Saturday against Texas.
Yeah, it was, it was a good game. There were stretches where it was like, Texas was just kind of moving the ball at will, but then Vanderbilt would make some great play. I mean, I thought it was actually, Clark Lee and some of the defensive play calling, they got some pressures on him because it was a struggle to get 4-man pressure on Quinn Ewers, but they had some key pressures that got home and give him a chance. And I mean, Pavia, look, I thought Texas actually did a really good job against the offense. I think that's the best prepared I've seen a team for what they do. They really did. And yes, they're loaded with talent and they're fat. So they get, but that's
what stood out to me. Texas is fast.
Yes, very much so. But I mean, they also they really didn't leave themselves exposed too often and kind of made Vanderbilt earn it. And then they got after Pavia a few times that were key plays, but they just keep battling, and Pavia is just relentless. This the only thing about, and I know Clark Lee has said this week, he's going to play at Auburn. He's banged up. I mean, this season might end up. I mean, he's going to be beat up by the end of the season. The way he plays, and then when you start getting that little leg ankle stuff going on, you're never going to totally get rid of that, which is interesting, or which is not great, for him. But he's going to keep battling. But yeah, I mean, it was a great atmosphere there. Texas, Chris Lowe was there sitting next to. I was between Chris Lowe and Teresa Walker, the Vols Legends alums.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, when's the last time you covered a Vandy game, man?
Yeah.
And it was actually the Bama game of 17.
Oh yes.
You're next, Alabama.
Yeah.
That game, which was
did not go well.
Yeah, like one of those. Oh no, but it was not that at all here. And we're sitting there, and he said during the game, he's this team should not drop out of the top 25. This is a top 25 team.
I agree.
It's a good team. So,
but thank God Missouri's still in there. I know they beat Vanderbilt, but still.
Yeah, but still, for sure, the way they're playing right now. So big, missed opportunity for sure. There was a huge play where they had a 4th and 1 and a great little sneaky play, but it was an illegal formation. I know they were mad about that, and it was, I'm not sure on that one.
Well, Clark Lee talked about that last night on the Commodore Hour. Quote, "It's an effort to eliminate plays of deception from the game. I'm frustrated because he was on our sideline and the play design went back to the field. It feels like in those moments we're over officiating," is what Clark Lee said about it last night.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I don't want things like that taken out. I mean, so you got the rules, but sometimes they do mess that up, and that was a big moment.
What did the refs say on that play? Because his explanation, I don't know that I've ever heard before. Like the shoulders weren't square to the line of scrimmage or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, okay. Sure.
I know, it's just so ticky-tack. It's like, I mean, last night there was one of these too where, I know he didn't stop. I think it was Neighbors, didn't get set. And it's like, they had a huge play. It was a TD for the Giants. And they take off the board. Rules are rules, but I tend to agree with that sometimes. So we'll see. Now they go to Auburn, and, Diego Pavia has has beaten a Hugh Freeze Liberty team. He's beaten a Hugh Freeze Auburn team. Hugh Freeze said this week he's sick of seeing them.
Yep.
So we'll see if Auburn has figured that out. Auburn went and kicked Kentucky's butt last week on the road. So, but this would seem to be, I mean, I think it's going to be a very good game.
Yeah, I think it is too. And look, Vanderbilt, you're still knocking on the door of bowl eligibility, right? So you've got Auburn this week. You got South Carolina still on the schedule. Obviously, LSU and Tennessee still to come as well. So, I mean, there's a tough stretch here for Vanderbilt to see what they've got. And look, I think we've talked about the Auburn matchup, right? Like if you're a Vanderbilt fan, and Willie was talking about this the other day, and you just assume you're going to walk in there and beat Auburn, and you probably hadn't been a Vanderbilt fan for very long. So make sure you keep that in mind.
Pump the brakes.
Auburn is a 6.5-point favorite at home in this game coming up on Saturday. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, look, I think we've come to know what to expect from Vanderbilt at this point. Like they're going to play hard. They're going to be in the game. Their offense is going to keep them in the game. They got to make a couple stops on defense. I don't know what to expect from Auburn. Like Auburn's been so all over the map all year. I have no idea what to expect from Auburn on Saturday.
Yeah, when I've watched Auburn, I mean, like even like the game at Georgia, they were, and I know Oklahoma has been exposed as a bad football team, but still, I mean, I've watched Auburn play enough this year where I was like, yeah, they're actually not a bad team. They've just blown some games with turnovers, with terrible turnovers. So I think it's a big challenge. Again, it's like any week with Vanderbilt. Can the defense do enough? They have some good players. I mean, Sidner is a really good player, and Fontenette is a good player, and obviously CJ. They got some guys out there, but do they have enough on the road in the SEC game?
Our boy Coy in Clarksville says Vanderbilt undefeated against the spread. That cannot be the case. There's no way that they were not the favorite against Georgia State, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah,
No. I think they definitely.
I would be stunned if they were not the favorite against Georgia State.
So so maybe in all the other games that's true. That's possible.
All the other games, I would say that's probable.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
also, no, never mind.
One.
No, it's not because they definitely did not cover the spread against Ball State either. So Coy, bad information on the text line.
Would they win that game by 14?
They won by like 14. I think they were 27-point favorites in that game.
Okay.
So,
well, other than that, Coy, thanks a lot. Jeez. So Peyton Thorne, 17 and 29, 176 and a touch for. Oh no, that's not. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. Boy, tell you what, this show's gonna get rough, man. I can tell right now. My processing.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, this is gonna be really. By the time we get to the 8 o'clock hour, get ready, folks. I need something. I need something better than coffee.
We continue to accept your medical advice and/or suggestions for Rexrode on our text line. I've had some people DM me about some possible solutions for you as well in terms of your knee. So keep them coming. We appreciate it on our text line here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Keyser walked in here with the name of a knee test that you could give yourself. There's a lot going on the program today.
Thank you. By the way, Thorne was 20 and 26, 172 and a touch against Kentucky. And Hunter for Auburn, 23 carries, 278 and 2 at Kentucky against that defense.
Yep.
Side note on this, Mark Stoops.
He might get fired.
I mean, it's been like that, great job. You could have it for the rest of your life, but at some point you do raise expectations. And what is going on with that team?
I don't know. It's bad. Their offense is atrocious. And now, they're kind of playing the quarterback game of, well, we're not going to name a starter heading into Tennessee. I'm interested to see what that looks like there. By the way, Tennessee, which we'll get into here in just a minute, I think a 15.5-point favorite against Kentucky coming up on Saturday. So do with that what you will.
Well, what I would do is I'd like giving those points the way Kentucky's playing right now.
615,
especially in Knoxville, even though they're wearing the stupid uniforms.
Hey, I like those dark mode uniforms. It's gonna be a fun night on Saturday. 615-737-1025. Our phone number 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Vols, could there be a big problem for the Vols by the time their schedule is said and done? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. We're taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Tennessee did not play this past weekend. They will host Kentucky coming up on Saturday night. It is dark mode for Tennessee, so the all-black uniforms will be happening on Saturday at Neyland Stadium, to which Joe Rexrode will rejoice when he sees those things.
Well, I guess basically all I can take from that is they don't think Kentucky's a very big game. You would never wear those stupid uniforms for a big game.
They did it a couple years ago against Kentucky, too.
Yeah, Will Levis remembers it well.
Won that game, I think, 40-46.
Let's go. That was – I do remember some of our conversation after that game, like, wow, so people think Will Levis is a better NFL prospect than Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
Huh?
I remember it was a interesting strategy by Kentucky in that game, and that after 5 touchdowns against Alabama, like the first drive of the game, they just said, Jalen Hyatt's open by 25 yards, huh? How about that? That's cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then they had a really good drive of their own for
They
a
did.
touchdown, and then whoa,
That was all she wrote.
that was about it.
That was about it
Yeah.
in that game. Tennessee is in a really interesting spot right now. They've got, obviously, Kentucky coming up this weekend. They've still got Georgia on the horizon coming up on November the 16th. They're sitting in a good spot. I mean, they've got 1 loss on the season. And, Joe, the simplest route is just win out, get to 11-1, and then you're not worrying about it. You're in the college football playoff, and you could be, depending on how things break, in the SEC title game at that point. So we'll see what happens on that front. However, I did look at the FanDuel Sportsbook. They are a 10.5-point underdog at the moment on the road at Georgia coming up on November the 16th. So let's say this plays out like the experts think it will, and Tennessee wins out with the exception of Georgia, and they end up 10-2 at the end of the year. 10-2, if you asked us heading into the year, we would probably say, yeah, that's probably good enough to get you in the college football playoff if you're Tennessee. However, depending on how other teams finish around both the SEC and specifically the Big Ten as well, you look at Tennessee's schedule. Alabama's a good win, and that's about it right now on their schedule. Like Oklahoma's not any good. NC State's not any good. You lost to Arkansas on the road, which could end up being just an absolute killer for you, although Arkansas looked pretty good the other day against Mississippi State. There's not very many good wins. And if they get through the rest of their schedule here and they lose to Georgia, there's really not an opportunity outside of Georgia and Vanderbilt for another really good win here if you're Tennessee. So if they go 10-2, could Tennessee be in serious jeopardy of not making the college football playoff because of the lack of good wins on their schedule?
I still think if they're 10-2, they'll get in. What people see when they play Georgia, I think matters. You got to go down there and look like you're a team that, again, the committee is going to look at these games like, is this a team that can come in and win again, and win in this playoff? But I think they'd get in. It's funny, though. I thought of this yesterday is because of something Stuart Mandel wrote at our site, The Athletic, with his projection. But then this morning I see John Adams, Tennessee football schedule is about to weaken. How that could hurt playoff chances. So, John, we're all on the same wavelength here.
Yep.
But let me read what Stuart wrote. He said, in going through SEC schedules, so his bracket does not have Tennessee. He dropped them out of the bracket. Now, Tennessee fans have angrily pointed out, and I get it, that right now, again, so for him, he's projecting, there's like here's what it is today. He's projecting what he thinks it'll be. So there is a difference. So he has LSU in, which, of course, they just lost to Texas A&M. He actually has Texas A&M and LSU playing each other in a 7-10 game. And obviously he's projecting them beating Alabama.
Well, LSU's getting ready to play their way out. Don't worry about that.
That'd be my guess, too. But he dropped Tennessee. This is what he said. He said, in going through SEC schedules, I realized Tennessee by season's end may face only 4 teams that finish 500 or better. Arkansas, Bama, Georgia, Vanderbilt, of which I have the Vols winning 2, Bama and Vandy. I had to drop them out. So, again, there's all the other moving parts that matter in this, right? He also doesn't have Indiana making it, man. Those Hoosiers, man. Come on now. Kurt Signetti is going to see this and go off on you. But, Georgia, BYU, Oregon, Miami is your buys, and then Clemson, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Boise State, Texas A&M, LSU, and Penn State, Texas. Like we've talked about, Wisconsin beating Penn State would have helped last week. They didn't. The Indiana thing can, like, if you're Tennessee, with all look at other leagues, root for some more losses in the Big 12. They got some teams that won't play each other. This is the problem with these leagues. The Big 12 not long ago was like they only have, what did they have, 10 teams, and they all play each other, and they decided, and it's clear. And now it's like none of that. There's tiebreakers.
Right.
There's teams missing each other. But, like, for example, Indiana plays at Michigan State. They play Michigan next week. Root for them to lose. Root for them to lose more than just the game at Ohio State that everyone assumes they'll lose, because I think you could compare favorably to a 2-loss Indiana. But to a 1-loss Indiana, no. I don't think you would, because the schedule is not great. Another thing to root for if you're a Tennessee fan, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Root for Vanderbilt.
I agree.
To beat these teams up until then. I mean, I think it's unrealistic to think Vanderbilt's going to win 3, but maybe they could win 2 or 3. And then that's going to be a road game that absolutely would be a quality win for you if you get it. And you need those, because there's just so many teams that could still be in the mix. In the ACC, you got Clemson, Miami. You have Pitt at SMU this week. Probably root for SMU, because Pitt could be sitting there only losing to Clemson, not making the ACC title game. I think we've talked about this before. Who have they beaten that's that great? I mean, they won at Cincinnati. They beat West Virginia. Like, nothing great. Yeah. They did just crush Syracuse, which is a decent team. But still, that's a 1-loss team, and you compare their schedule strength to yours. You play in a better league, but it doesn't matter. It depends on who you play. These massive leagues, I'm in the SEC, I'm in the Big Ten, but give me your actual schedule.
Well, and this is a perfect example of what I said the Monday after it happened. The Arkansas loss could loom very large for them. Think about it, you win that game, you're sitting here undefeated, and you're looking at the rest of the schedule, and you're saying, all right, you drop the Georgia game, it's not really that big a deal. You're in after that. But you lose to Arkansas, and now you put yourself in this spot where if you don't beat Georgia, I don't know that you're going to be comfortable. Even if things play out, you win the rest of them, you're 10-2. I don't know how comfortable you're going to be on that selection Sunday if you're Tennessee.
I still would, though, if I had a choice, I would still take the scenario of losing that game and beating Alabama.
Agreed.
But you need Alabama.
You need Alabama
to win out. Of course, if they go beat LSU, LSU's out.
Yeah.
Get them out of there with their 3rd loss. And then again, it's like we have talked about the Alabama still getting in over Tennessee, but I still think Tennessee, you root for them.
Take your chances.
Yeah, you root for them to win and make that win look as good as possible. And if it's close, I mean, to me, head to head, it's got to matter.
Or you could just go beat Georgia.
Well, that's true too. You could. And if you go do that, well, now we're talking about the SEC championship. We're talking about a bye. This is the correct use of the word bye. It's a tournament. And then you have a totally different outlook there. And it's not impossible. I mean, the matchup hasn't gone well. After watching Georgia, I know we're already moving past Kentucky. But after watching what Georgia did physically to Texas, that reminded me of some of those Tennessee games. But still, it's not impossible.
It's not. Well, the one thing, if you're Tennessee, that I think is a little bit different this year is what is your defense going to do to them?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what you've got that you just haven't had the last few years.
Yeah, and they have a good back and a very good quarterback, but he also makes mistakes.
He does.
So we can just move on past the beer barrel game, though, huh? That's a game.
I don't move on past any game. I don't
Kentucky,
do that.
Though. I mean,
they look pretty bad.
They just don't, and they just never beat Tennessee.
Well, there's that too. But again, I don't look past any game.
Beat them.
That is true. 615-737-1025. Well, he also lost to a wide receiver at quarterback.
Well, there's that too.
There is that. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. There was something that happened in the NFL, in the Titans division over the weekend, that has people around the league throwing their hands up and saying, man, what are you doing? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. We'll have Nick Suss from the Tennessean join us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Nick Suss also caught up with the GM, Rand Carthon, over the weekend, so we'll get more of his thoughts from that conversation as well. Looking forward to that. Right now, taking your thoughts in the meantime. Joe, a very interesting story in the National Football League in the AFC South over the weekend. Beyond the Titans getting destroyed 52-14, there was a nice back-and-forth game between the Colts and the Texans, and it looked for a minute like the Colts might pull off the upset and go down to Houston and win the game. In the middle of this game, in the third quarter, Indianapolis was in a goal-to-go situation, lost a bunch of yardage. It was third down. And all of a sudden, Anthony Richardson tapping his helmet, saying, I got to get out of here. Got to get out. I'm tired. So Richardson runs off the field. Joe Flacco comes in for a third down handoff on 3rd and goal from the 23-yard line. Not a very high percentage play, I might add. But Flacco comes in for the third down, and Anthony Richardson takes himself out of a game for a play, which is something that I don't believe I nor anybody else have ever seen from the quarterback position in the National Football League. That has generated a ton of reaction around the league, Joe Rexrode, in terms of former players, analysts, people in Indianapolis are going nuts. Right now, they're not committing to Anthony Richardson as a starting quarterback for this week in Indianapolis. A lot of things going on with Anthony Richardson right now. What'd you make of that situation over the weekend?
Well, I need Ben and Indy. This is we're sending out the Ben and Indy bat signal. I need your thoughts on this, Ben. Yeah, I've seen receivers do that. Seen running backs do that. Really not offensive linemen.
No.
I mean, I guess not really D either. Yeah, I guess defensive linemen.
Yeah,
you
I've seen
see that
linemen
sometimes for sure. Never seen it. And it's like if Anthony Richardson could go back in time, because I have no idea. I mean, he just said after he was just tired. Like It's like at least be like, okay, give me oxygen or something. Yeah. I don't know. Like, or can you?
I jammed my finger or something.
Can you look at something? Look at my leg. Look at my. It's just bizarre. And yeah, he's taking all kinds of crap for it. I'm sure Colts Twitter. Now, but again, I think Indy Ben, maybe he has an excuse for him. Indy Ben has a positive spin for everything.
I just wanted to get Joe Flacco on the
game. Yeah, there you go. But even like the ESPN guys were going off on him.
Well, they were. Get Up had a field day with this yesterday in the aftermath of Anthony Richardson taking himself out of the game. Here was the conversation on Get Up on ESPN yesterday.
Okay, let me speak to the camera. Bro, I'm a former offensive lineman. We don't get breaks. We're sitting blocking for you every single play to protect you, okay? And you're going to sit there and going to tap your ass out of the game? You need to get your conditioning up. I don't know what I can't even wrap my mind around the fact that you're asking out of a game. You must be grossly out of shape or something else must be going on. But I don't have the luxury as an offensive lineman to tap my helmet to get out of the game. What the hell was that, Rex? I don't understand.
I mean, this actually happened.
It actually happened.
Can you imagine? Like, I've been around this game all my life. All right, literally. I've never seen a quarterback have to tap out of a freaking. Are you kidding me? Like, this doesn't happen. It's not possible that this actually happens.
To be a guy you got to drag off the field.
Hey, he thinks it's acceptable.
Yeah.
What makes you think this is acceptable, kid? Is it the fact that the GM's making the head coach play you? Maybe that's what makes it acceptable.
When it comes to physical exertion, no one's job is easier on game day than a quarterback's. No one's job. I can't fathom Anthony saying this. I can't fathom him saying it and then getting into the huddle in the fourth quarter and looking guys like him in the eye and saying, like, I need 10-play drive here. Those guys are going to be like, you same dude that tapped out? That's the concern.
The whole team is sitting back wondering what the hell he's doing in there at quarterback anyway, when Joe Flacco is clearly the better answer at quarterback.
Can't believe he said that.
And so now he says this.
I'm just shocked, man.
If that happened, if you're an offensive lineman and your quarterback did that in a game, what did you tell me this morning was going to happen after the game?
Well, I need to have a talk with you. I literally, I need to have a talk with you. I'm sitting here busting my ass to protect you, and you gonna remove yourself from the game voluntarily? What are we doing?
So that was the conversation on Get Up about Anthony Richardson yesterday.
Dan Orlovsky criticizing a quarterback for anything
doesn't happen very often.
Is a rarity
Friend
on
of the
its
show.
own. Yes. So yeah, it is. It's wild. Again, it's one thing, and it's like, to me, the bigger issue is I don't know
He
if
can't complete a forward pass.
Yeah, I mean 10 for 32.
It's pretty bad.
I did watch that game. I will say, he had a couple great passes that were dropped. He makes some plays. I mean, it's just the problem with him is it is that balance of like, you got to lean into the QB run game, but you can't too much because he gets hurt.
Yep.
And then, it's just so inconsistent. I don't know, what Rex Ryan is saying. Is it true that the whole locker room wants Flacco? I mean, it's still Joe Flacco, guys. I know it was a great story last year, but it's Joe Flacco. Let's calm down.
Joe Flacco's done a lot of winning the last 2 years.
Yeah. And
beat those Titans a few weeks ago.
That is true.
Hard thing to do.
What a feat. But also, is it he said there
feet and Rex Ryan? I see what you did there.
Well done. My goodness. There's a Freudian slip if there ever was one. But he's saying that the coach is only playing Richardson because the GM is making him. That's an interesting. That's a bold.
That is a bold statement.
Yeah, that's quite a statement. Obviously, Chris Ballard. I mean, he's done in Indy if Richardson doesn't work out.
No doubt.
But to me, I understand the Colts are like they're technically competitive and they're in the playoff race, air quotes. They're not going to be there at the end. That's a guy who needs reps, who, again, is so young in playing the game, and I don't see how you could even think about changing that. I think that's insane.
Every now and then, you just gotta go to the sideline, get you some water, take yourself out for a minute, reset.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's 3rd and goal from 23. You don't need me for this play.
They could alternate series, maybe.
Yeah, it's all good.
Alternate series, give them a little extra rest, I guess.
Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in, David. David, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning. Hey, this reminds me of Titans Super Bowl when Kevin Carter took himself out, and Ramel was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you serious? You're taking yourself out now?"
Yeah.
Did you ever see Steve McNair taking himself out?
No, I could not.
Well, again, no quarterback I've ever seen. I've just never seen it.
Yeah.
I've never seen a quarterback do it. Yeah, you don't even have to be like an Ironman like McNair. Like, it's like that's just something you don't do.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Thanks for the call, David. I mean, there is from the Super Bowl, like a nice clip of Dick Vermeil's
like incredulous.
You're taking yourself out now. What are you doing? It's pretty funny.
Nicest coach ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, someone texted about that too. Roy G. Biv texted about that too. It's just, again, the bigger concern in Indy or for Colts fans should be just the overall performance consistency. Like, are you seeing progress, stuff like that? And I don't think he's quote unquote soft based on, I think sometimes he's also another quarterback who, go ahead, don't take that hit from that guy.
Yeah.
Don't lean your shoulder into
Get
that
yourself
guy.
out of the way.
So, but that's just a really weird one, man. And it's just like, it's never going to, like, it's just going to follow him. Especially like if he doesn't work out. Yeah. If it doesn't work out and he never, that's going to be one of the things that people talk about in his career. It's fair or not. That's just what it is.
Can you imagine what our show would be like the next day, given everything that's happened with the Titans at this point? If like Will Levis took himself out of the game for a play.
Oh,
it would go over really well, I'm sure.
Holy cow.
Ryan, got to come out for this one. Mason, come on back in, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. So I really don't know. You're saying the Colts, because where are Colts fans on him right now? I mean, they're a winning team. He's had some ups and downs. It's not like all bad at all, right?
It's mostly bad, but it's not very
great.
good.
It's not great.
Like, he looks pretty bad. He's a bad quarterback right now. Now, the selling point is, he's only 22. He hadn't played a ton of football yet.
Right.
And there are raw abilities there that just a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
I just wonder what the patience level looks like there. Like, it's the NFL, as Brian Callahan said yesterday at his press conference. There's only a certain amount of patience. Like, there's not a ton of patience in the league, but he would probably be an example of whatever your extreme level of patience is, probably needs to be exercised with him.
Yeah. And again, this is where like the difference. One, if you're a Titans fan, you can point and laugh because Richardson went so high compared to your guy, right? But that's also why the Colt, like you take a guy there and no understanding that some people were like, nope, you got to have another year of college. He barely played in college. And then last year he's hurt for most of the year. Like, I can't believe that Shane Steichen was like, yeah, we're evaluating everything. Really? You're not just saying, I just, like, if they went to Flacco, have some self-awareness. You're not very good. You're not a good football team. And I know that they were
Joe Flacco.
They hung in, yeah. They hung in there and all that stuff, and I thought they were going to win when it looked like they had that fumble return. Texter says, wasn't your boy Stillman with his high level of expertise ready to sell the farm for Richardson during the draft process? Hashtag let Stilly cook. He's making the case for himself as GM. Is that right?
He is. Hey, the good news for the Colts is you have the Vikings next week, and then the Bills, and then the Jets, and then the Detroit Lions. So could be some L's coming their way.
Right. So
other than the Jets.
So Flacco's not saving you.
Probably not.
Keep playing the kid.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. We got a lot of your thoughts to get to on this. We'll get to those coming up next. We'll also take your thoughts on the Titans as well. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is Teddy's Tavern. Teddy's Tavern, your go-to spot for great food, cold drinks, and live music in the heart of downtown Nashville. Get half off a $100 gift card now for Teddy's Tavern at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines. Let's go back to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robby, man. Hey, I've jumped in late, so if you've already addressed this, I'm sorry. But can you confirm a rumor? Was Colt Anderson the guy for the Colts who snapped the ball when there was nobody over center? It was just a quarterback and a center?
We believe that is the case.
Yeah, no, we talked about it yesterday, and I saw the highlight. It's him.
Oh, but he knows special teams. Dude, this is the best. Like,
he definitely knows
I'm not
not to
even
do
mad
that.
at it. Like, that makes me so incredibly happy that he's the guy who did that. Like, there's no other person I want running the special teams this season. So I'm not on board with firing him. I want him there. I want this to get, like, the stinkiest it could possibly get. So, and at this point right here, dude, like, I love him. I support him, and I'll come out for him like that.
Big Colt Anderson guy, Adam in Portland.
So you're all in on the tank, huh, Adam? Tank away?
He's gone.
Okay.
Nick quick on the trigger.
Nick, wow, Nick. Yeah,
Nick claims it wasn't him. He claims he didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
Defend yourself.
He gone.
You also called him Adama in Portland, but that's
Adama in Portland.
Adama.
Yeah.
So is that how Titans fans are feeling? Are they?
Well, I got a pretty good amount of confidence.
Things to just go absolute trash heap here.
At least you won't see that from the Titans. The play where there's one offensive lineman in front of the ball carrier,
or maybe that's the way that he gets
and they
back
line
in
everybody else up.
Maybe that's the way he redeems himself.
Well,
is
maybe.
he runs the same formation but figures out a way to make that work.
Maybe so.
If that's the case, is all forgiven for Colt
If you
Anderson?
find a way to make that work, yes, all is forgiven. One of the great
If anybody
formations of all time.
If anybody hasn't seen that play, like, I don't know if you guys saw, like, last night, the Giants going for 2, the great, down 8, let's go for 2 to make it 6 when you can just kick an extra point. But, it's like that was it. They try to screen like someone just totally didn't block Highsmith. But in this situation, I don't remember all the explanations. Ben and Indy, if you have a spin on this too, I would love to hear that from you. Like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It's pretty bad.
It's like there's a center and there's him and there's like 3 guys. Like, so wait,
lined up across the line of scrimmage from him. 3 defenders.
So it's like
with one center.
You actually gonna snap this, dude? Like, there's 3 of us.
Everybody else
there's
is on the
3 of
sideline
us,
over there.
and there's 1 guy blocking for you. You're gonna snap this? Yeah, you got okay.
And predictably, it did not go well.
It's like one of the dumbest plays ever in football history. It really
pretty
is
incredible.
I know it was a close game on their side of the field too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's like a tie game in the 4th quarter.
So at least you haven't seen that.
Yeah. So I say come with that same thing. You know what you do in that play? I got Colt. If Colt Anderson's listening, you know what you do in that play?
What's that?
You do the freaking fumble-rooski, man.
Yeah, that's a great call.
Yeah. And they're all blowing him up.
When's the last time we saw a fumble-rooski in the NFL?
It's been a minute. But that's the only way you could possibly make it work.
Yeah. I got one texter that says the Titans should onside kick the rest of the year. The starting field position, if you don't get it, can't be worse than Sunday. And then the defense retains the number 1 spot for yards per game. Think about it, Colt.
That's a good
This
point.
from an unnamed texter on the text line. Problem is, you can't even do it by surprise anymore. Now you have to declare whether or not you're kicking an onside kick. So I guess you could just declare it every time. Just be like, hey, guys, by the way, we're about to kick an onside kick.
Well, also, by the way, you're not allowed to. Unfortunately,
You can't even do it.
You're not allowed to do it unless you're behind.
Yeah.
You cannot, which I think is stupid.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, that's stupid. So let people onside kick. But yes, that's one of the new rules that I hope the NFL reconsiders. Adam says, sorry, Joe, I like to hang up before people hang up on me. It makes me feel less hurt.
Oh, okay.
But to answer your question, yes, I want to get bad. I went from being angry, not caring, back to caring, but wanting us to do really poorly so I can be happy again. Okay. I mean, there's definitely I'm seeing all the, Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward, like in Titans jerseys, memes out there.
We've talked about this. I've done my best to avoid the draft talk. It is October the 29th. I feel like if about another week or 2 of this, we're going to be in November, and it's going to be like pretty unavoidable at that point.
I
don't know how long we can hold it off. I'll try.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my darndest to hold it off. But
yeah,
if you're a Titans fan right now, there's not a whole lot to point to in terms of your excitement level.
Yeah, but college hoops is starting, man.
That's true.
We can do a lot of different things here. We
true.
can pivot.
That is true. Hey,
get excited.
Could have some exciting college hoops.
Monday is by the way, Monday's opening night. Baylor Gonzaga.
Ooh,
it's a great game, but
excited.
You know that it's on a Monday.
Yeah,
because they're doing like the 20. It's like 10:30 our time on a Monday.
Are you going to stay up and watch the whole thing?
I mean, I might watch the first half.
Oh, you'll watch the whole thing.
Nah, I don't think I can do 12:30, man. Although today, I mean, I'm on 2 hours, whatever. So we'll see. But I'm just saying, rather than talk about the draft, we can.
There's options, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I really want to put that off. Maybe the Titans. What we need is Will Levis to return to playing and to do things better, and at least have some sort of. Okay, is he progressing? Like something like that, right? I mean,
Sure.
there's not going to be a playoff race. They're not going to win many games, but that's like other than that, what else would there be?
I'll tell you what's interesting to me. The Patriots have traditionally, when Tom Brady was their quarterback, been a fan base that travels very well because there are a lot of bandwagon Patriots fans. I don't know how many bandwagon Patriots fans there are right now, and they kind of knew heading into the year that they weren't going to be very good. Now it is Nashville. And people just like coming here. So maybe there'll be a lot of Patriots fans here on Sunday.
People from the Northeast live here.
Yeah, no doubt. So maybe there will be a lot of Patriots fans. I am very interested to see in a matchup between the 2-5 Patriots and the 1-6 Titans what that crowd looks like on Sunday. Weather's going to be fine. Like it's going to be 80 degrees and sunny.
Amazing.
So, you can't hand draw a better day in early November in Nashville, Tennessee than what it's forecasted to be on Sunday. And yet I still wonder, is anybody going to be at the game? I'm really interested to see what that looks like.
Yeah. And what I just said, by the way, I mean, look, maybe a lot of Titans fans might laugh at me, but if they knew that Will Levis was playing, would that not make it at least a little bit more interesting? Or are we past that?
I think we might be past
past that.
Yeah.
People have just given up.
I think we might be past it.
What, I'm trying to remember what game was on. All I know is his Mayo commercial came, which I love.
Yeah. Him doing the splits out there.
Mayo quarterback, be dreamy. Yeah. Hey.
Real good
hey,
stuff.
Man, hey, good on you. I will never change on this. Good job. Hilarious
I'm
commercial.
glad he did it.
Make some money.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We will have more on the Titans coming up next. The Rob Rant at 7:45. Nick Suss from the Tennessean will be with us at 8. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to the Nashville Tequila Festival at One City this Friday. The winner must be 21 or older. A spooktacular evening benefiting Tennessee Greenland Conservancy. Tequila lovers can look forward to 50-plus types of tequila for tasting. Nashville Tequila Festival coming up this Friday. Be caller 5. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to the Nashville Tequila Festival. Must be 21 or older.
Perfect song for this.
Well done, Nick. He's
Which,
very
of
proud.
course-
Look how proud of himself.
And of
he
course,
is
what
today.
movie comes to mind when we hear this song? Anyone?
I mean, for me, it's Sandlot.
Yep.
Wow. Wait, what scene in Sandlot was this?
You really don't remember?
I mean, I love
it's pretty
Sandlot. I've
gross.
seen it a bunch of times. Which one?
They take the chew, and it doesn't end well.
Oh,
the
yeah.
amusement
Okay.
park, yeah.
Right. Yeah. See, if you went to the theater to see Pee Wee's Big Adventure,
Oh, yeah.
that's where you, because this is when
Great
he gets,
dance.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. I mean, that's gotta, as much as I love Sandlot, like this song is it's the Pee Wee Herman dance.
It is.
Okay.
It's also
we can
Sandlot.
agree on this.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
What do we think the chances
He's
are
already
that
ignoring
Nick
us
has
again.
seen Pee Wee Herman? He put his
He's
finger
got-
in the
yeah,
air.
I think he's got a caller.
Hold on, I have better things to do. I'll be with you all in a moment. Thank
Once
you, Nick.
again, though, your old soulness is very appreciated,
Yeah,
Robbie.
no
Good
doubt.
job.
No doubt. Remember, what was that woman's name? Large Marge, the truck driver in Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah. So now you're talking.
No, it's a different movie.
Yeah. No, wait.
How many Pee Wees were there?
I think there was only two, like Pee
There only
Wee's
two?
Big Adventure and then Big Top Pee Wee, I think.
Why do I feel like there were more than that?
Well, he had the show.
Yeah.
Like Cherry.
Yeah.
The chair.
I'm just talking movie.
I think there was just two. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He was also, Paul Rubens was in the movie Blow.
Oh, there you go.
Fun
Ben
fact.
Ben from Cumberland City says, I'm a Colts fan, and one thing I can't get into is draft talk. Even for us, we're in more trouble than I thought. What happened to more NFL-ready quarterbacks in the draft? 1-4 in last year's draft isn't great. It's frustrating for sure. I may remember it wrong, but it always seemed like if you had a bad season, you could go in the draft and get a serviceable quarterback. I'm not out on Richardson, but there's things in him that I'm questioning. Levis was my second choice behind Stroud. Just me venting, but there's more Darnolds than Strouds out there. Maybe picking up veteran, serviceable quarterbacks is better than drafting. I don't know. That's from Ben from Cumberland City.
Yeah. And we've talked some about that. Because obviously Darnold is a great example this year, and we'll see. That might be coming down to earth a little bit for him, but still, he's been pretty good, and he definitely was bad with the Jets, and so it took him some time, and you just never know. And I do think that I think it gets exaggerated with Stroud and Daniels in terms of terrible teams, and they're so good they just carried them. And the reality is both of them actually have pretty good situations with teams that have been terrible but have been building their rosters, and so then it still comes down to those guys playing the way they're playing. Incredible.
Yeah.
But they're also they are the exceptions. The rule is you don't work out. So I don't know that that's even really changed. Again, you can go back through the first rounds of NFL drafts, and you're just going to find way more misses than hits.
Yeah, I'm interested to talk to Nick Suss a little bit more about this coming up at 8:00 in his interview with Rand Carthon. Joe, a lot of reaction continuing to get out there yesterday about Carthon's comments to the Tennessean about the ball not bouncing the right way in the aftermath of a 38-point loss to the Detroit Lions. We talked about it a lot yesterday. Stillman spent most of his show on it yesterday talking about that, which I figured he would.
Is that right?
Yeah. It was not. I mean, obviously, it's not good from Rand Carthon. Callahan was even asked about it yesterday at his press conference about whether or not he agrees that, the ball bouncing the wrong way is to blame. And he basically said, it kind of feels that way at times, but you create your own luck in the National Football League, and they're not doing a good enough job of making plays on that right now.
Do we have that? I think that's, at some point we should possibly play that. Do you have that clip, by the way, Nick? Because I thought that was a good. I thought that was actually a pretty good job of, first of all, like being real.
Yeah.
because it's like, dude, you cannot talk about ball bouncing the wrong way right now.
38 points. Yeah.
Right. But also without like throwing Rand under the bus, I thought he
Yeah.
did a good job of like,
Kind of walked the line there.
yeah. Now you create your own luck.
Yeah.
So for anybody who didn't hear that, yeah, I thought that was a good moment for Brian Callahan. And you know what? Right now, the Titans having good moments.
Well,
that's notable.
It's not happening very often. Nick, do we have that clip? Here's what Brian Callahan had to say yesterday when asked by Jared about whether or not the ball bouncing the wrong way is to blame for the Tennessee Titans.
That when reflecting on the first 7 games, that the ball just hasn't bounced the team's way this year. Do you believe that?
There's moments where it feels like that, but there's also a part of football where you have to make your own luck to some degree too. You got to those things that feel like luck and feel like the bounces go your way or don't go your way. Part of that is making it happen for yourself too. We've also given away a lot, and that's there's moments where it feels like there's like 3 plays a game where it's like, what in the world is happening right now? Like, how does this even happen? But there's a part of the ball bouncing your way. Like, good teams have to kind of just goes your way sometimes. The ball, they end up with the ball, they make plays on the ball. There's a momentum factor that it's hard to like pinpoint what that is. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where it's felt that way. But again, I'm more in the line of you sort of have to create those opportunities and you have to make your luck a bit too in this league. And we've not done a good enough job of it.
That was Brian Callahan yesterday. Again, a very good job of kind of walking down the middle of that answer there. I'm not going to totally throw our GM under the bus for what he said here, but I don't know if I necessarily buy the ball's not bouncing our way when you lose by 38 to the Detroit Lions.
Meanwhile, Vrabel, if this is the greatest night of your life, boy, your career is going to suck. What a dumb comment by this new GM. Hi, everybody. Slightly different approaches.
I forgot about that.
That might have been
what was that, like 5 minutes apart? Rand goes on this big thing about, hey, guys, these kids have been drafted. There's no time for negativity tonight. This is awesome. Great night, memorable night. And what was it, 5 minutes later? Let me tell you, if this is the greatest night of your career, it probably means your NFL career didn't work out very well, huh? What do you think, Rand? Thanks, Mike.
That's probably a good indication.
It's probably when we should have known that things weren't always great.
Yeah, where things were going a little bit there. Yeah, man, I got to say, a day removed, it is pretty. Again, I don't want to get into. I know, although I know some people are also upset. It's like, you're gonna decide to talk, and you're gonna give the interview to one person. Why not talk to everybody? Now, so I get that, but in general, I totally approve of. Reporter comes up to you, sure. Let's talk. You should. You speak. I mean, you're a hugely important part of an organization that has a huge following, and you're a public person, and you should be available. So,
well, here would be my advice.
But then, oh boy, the ball bouncing.
This is now the second time that he's done that. He got up there at the end of season press conference last year and talked about the ball just didn't bounce our way. From now on, my advice to Rand Carthon would be, even if you actually believe that, don't say that again.
Yeah.
Like I think
that's probably good advice.
You've probably reached the quota of, well, ball just not bouncing our way right now. I think the fan base, even after the first one, was like, really? You had Andre Dillard at left tackle all year. You think the ball didn't bounce our way and that's why they weren't very good? Well, this one for sure, it's like, good Lord, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, especially because he was talking about this game. So last year when he said it, and yes, people got upset, and I get it. And he got kind of hung out to dry a little bit. Hey, let's talk to Rand about Amy firing Mike Vrabel. Yeah. Cool. But he did at least was able to back it up with because they did have a bunch of close games. Right?
They did.
So, I mean, at least you could say we did have a bunch of close games, lost a lot of close games, could have been different. Okay. In this game, it's like Koharski pointed out, it's like, okay, so then make them all your way, and you only lose by 3 touchdowns. Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, again, even if there are situations moving forward where you believe that to be the case, we've probably exhausted the ball bouncing the wrong way.
Yes. We all are aware that it's not round.
It is. It is not round. No doubt. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Nick Suss from the Tennessean will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll discuss more of his conversation with Rand Carthon coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. The Rob rant coming up next. I had some things that were bothering me, Joe, even before the game last night for the Predators and Steven Stamkos. And then they got magnified last night on
They enhanced your rant.
the old X.com.
You should thank them for juicing up the rant.
I will. We'll get
Yes.
into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Don't make me angry. Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
Glorious, victorious. It's so stupid. It's a terrible song.
It is that time of the day. The Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode, with Joe Rexrode's beautiful singing voice leading us back in, which we need more of on the program.
How's the glorious domination quotient?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't noticed it. I don't know if that means they haven't played it or if I just am not where I'm supposed to be when they're playing.
Attaboy, Preds. A new era of never playing glorious domination.
I mean, I cannot confirm that they don't play it. I just have not noticed it. But I feel like I'd notice it.
Keyser?
Couldn't tell you that I've noticed it.
That may mean it's not happening.
This is great. I'm in a great mood as you start your rant.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I was planning on talking about this today, even before the game last night and some of the conversation on social media last night that I was forced to take part in. Steven Stamkos, up until the game last night, had 1 point in his first 8 games as a member of the Nashville Predators. 1 goal, and that was it. The production was not there. Obviously, that's not good enough, and they're paying him to be a very important player for this team and a player that is supposed to be a part of the solution that gets them into being a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. Okay? So with that in the background, obviously we all know that the production from Steven Stamkos, and I would include Jonathan Marchessault and Brady Shea in that discussion, has to pick up as they move forward here. Now, he got 2 assists last night. He had 6 shots on goal, 11 shot attempts as a whole. Played good last night. I thought he played really well. So a very encouraging step for Steven Stamkos. Over the weekend, though, in the aftermath of the Columbus game where Stamkos just didn't do a whole lot in the game, I started to get some of these comments on Twitter of, well, Stamkos got paid and he just doesn't care anymore. Or, well, Stamkos is just, there's no effort out there from Steven Stamkos. He's not skating hard. There's no effort. There's just, doesn't look like he knows what he's doing out there. And some of that continued last night after the first period, which, by the way, the entire Predators hockey team, with the exception of UC Saros, was pretty bad in the first period last night. Steven Stamkos not excluded from that conversation, but the whole team pretty bad last night. So back and forth from a couple of people on Twitter. I'm not trying to single these people out, but basically about Stamkos being benched. It's time to bench Steven Stamkos. He's taking valuable ice time away from other players who are better than he is, and it's time to get rid of him. And my message is twofold in this discussion. Number one, I feel like we all should have watched hockey long enough at this point to realize that what a team is or what a player is in game number 7 or game number 8 or game number 9 of a regular season is not necessarily what they're going to be as the season plays along here. And number 2, and this is kind of an evergreen rant on our program here, if your default answer every time that something's not going well for a player becomes that there's just no effort that they're putting in, that tells me that you don't really have any idea what you're talking about. Like, that's generally speaking, there are exceptions. Like, I can find you examples of NHL players at times where the effort has not been satisfactory. And, there's a couple of shifts from
Mitch Marner,
William Nylander, and Mitch Marner a couple of years ago that stand out where it ain't very good and you can see it. And it's like, okay, I'm not saying it never happens, but generally speaking, we go to he doesn't care. He's not trying way too quickly in these discussions. And I would just ask everybody this. If you're concerned about Steven Stamkos, you can be concerned. That's fine. He needs to play better. There's no doubt. I think he took a step in that direction last night. But let me just ask you this. What is more likely? You tell me. What is more likely? That Steven Stamkos, who is one of the greatest players of the generation, is approaching 600 goals for his career, is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Anybody who's ever been around him, much less played with him, talks about the work ethic and the drive and how great of a leader he is and all these things. What's more likely? That that's all just gone away? Or that maybe adjusting to a new system and a new place and a new environment and a new city for the first time in 16 years might be a little bit more of a difficult adjustment than maybe we thought heading into this. I don't know. I'll leave that for you to decide. You tell me. I know which one I think is probably more likely. And last night, beginning in the second period, you started to see, turns out he's still a pretty good hockey player. And he hasn't totally forgotten how to play hockey in the span of 4 months since signing a new contract with the Predators, which, by the way, getting paid a whole lot of money by the Lightning too. It's not like the money is just some new thing for Steven Stamkos.
That's the first thing that's the first thing that comes to mind is like he got paid way before, right?
He's made plenty of money.
Yeah, so that's already not a thing. He doesn't have to keep playing. I mean, the guy is obviously a high level, high everything athlete. Yeah, this is a great rant that definitely applies, and I think we've had maybe other iterations of it where effort is like the default criticism.
Yeah,
and it's so rarely the correct answer.
Very rarely. Especially in contact sports.
Yeah, executing and sometimes looking silly and all those things happen, but like you think that the person isn't trying? Really?
Yeah, like there have been games where he's just looked totally out of sync. I don't think it's not an effort thing. It's I've been doing this certain thing this same way for the last decade plus under John Cooper, and now I'm being asked to do it a different way under Andrew Brunette. And beating that habit out of you takes some time. He talked about that before the season. Like, he literally laid it out there. He was like, yeah, there are some things that are in my game that are habits that I have to break in this system. And it's hard to do that. So, like, to me, the team as a whole, like getting off to the 0-5 start, that was pretty stunning to me. I did not see that coming. But the fact that it's taken Stamkos and Marchessault specifically, those two guys, some time to get going here is not at all surprising to me. Like, I don't know. Like, that was my expectation. Now, more than one goal and 1 point in 8 games, I probably would have guessed. And by the way, like, he's had a ton of great looks on the power play, and some of them just hadn't gone in. Like, they're going to go in at some point. But he and Jonathan Marchessault, I promise you this year, if they stay healthy, they're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. We got to stop with they got paid. That's it. They just, those two guys are just bagging it in. They're retiring here in Nashville.
Get them out of there.
Yeah. I couldn't believe
Tomasino is getting robbed of his ice time.
Yeah, like I couldn't believe some of the conversation I was hearing around specifically Stamkos over the weekend. It's like, guys, have you not watched this guy play his entire career? You think he's out there bagging it? Like, it's what you think he's doing right now? It's just come up with better than that.
Yeah.
We're better than that.
All right.
As a city.
It makes no sense. Right. It makes no sense at all. I mean, it's like you can't get to this level, and he's at another couple levels than most people. He's an all-time great, right? But you can't even get close to the level of playing, in the NHL or at the highest level of any of these sports if you aren't a ferocious competitor. I mean, unless there's just insane amounts of God-given ability and you don't care. But how often do you it just doesn't really exist?
No, but that's how you become great. Is you have both. You have the God-given ability and the drive, and that's what he is.
Right.
That's what he's always been.
So it's predictable to me when a team makes. How many times do we see it when a team makes a move like this that early on, the production isn't there, right, and there's frustration because, of course, you're probably on his side. You're really wanting to make a splash right away, and the fans really want to see it right away.
And I'll tell you another thing.
Look, he's had some bad luck, too.
He's had some bad. I mean, he's had two. He had one last night and one in the Detroit game earlier this year where he had a wide open net, and the puck hit the knob of the goalie's stick. The knob. Like, you know how hard that is to do? And he's done it twice where it's hit the knob of the goalie's stick. He's going to be fine. And here's another thing. How much has last night been on his mind? It's early in the year.
Oh, yeah.
People have not stopped talking about it since he signed here. Now that that's done and he's gone down there, like, how much does that kind of free you up and you move on after that? I'm interested to see what that looks like. But
that's a good point.
Steven Stamkos is going to be fine. I'm here to tell you. He's going to be fine.
Hopefully he'll try harder.
We'll have Nick Suss from the Tennessean coming up next. We'll get into the Titans and his conversation with Rand Carthon coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. Talking all things Tennessee Titans, and to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Nick Suss, who covers the Titans for the Tennessean. Nick, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, y'all. How are y'all?
We're great, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Nick, let's just start with the game, 52-14. The final for the Titans against the Lions. It was gross. It was disgusting. It's become somewhat the expectation for this Titans team, particularly on special teams. I've never seen anything like what we saw on Sunday on the special team side of things. You know, Brian Callahan got up there yesterday and talked about Colt Anderson and the confidence he's got in him. But what do you make of just the operation right now on special teams? And are you surprised that there was not a coaching move made yesterday?
Optically, yeah. I mean, it would have made sense to make a coaching move, but logistically, these mistakes seem like they are somehow both because of and beyond coaching. Like, you can replace the coach, you can do all that stuff. I don't know if that's necessarily going to fix everything right now. Like, it does set a precedent. It shows a symbol. I get all of that from that perspective. But if you look at what's going on special teams from the big picture, especially in these return phases, there is just so much being messed up that I look at the players, I look at the operation, I look at the coaches, and I just think maybe it's better to try and fix it from the inside than it is to just start over. I really don't know where to start. I am not a special teams expert, but if you look at the personnel on the field, if you look at the fact that they're seemingly so sold out on protecting the punter because of the blocks early in the year that it makes sense that there's not enough speed on the field to keep up with Khalif Raymond. If you look at the fact that Stonehouse isn't putting the ball that high in the air, like, a lot of these can be coaching issues and a lot of these can be personnel issues. I really don't know where the differentiation is. And you bring in a new coach and the personnel, just stepped on my cat. That stuck.
Oh, no.
Is he or she okay?
She is okay. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I pace when I'm on the radio, live radio. Mistakes are made. I don't know. Long answer. I don't know if you fix the problem. You address something by making a change, but I don't know if that fixes anything.
I just want you to know, especially because she's okay, that will absolutely become a drop that we will very much enjoy in the future.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
That's almost as good as me blowing up a chair on here.
Yeah, that was the all-time moment.
Yeah, I guess it's not quite that, but man, I'm glad to hear she's okay. Well, I was going to ask Nick if, part of the issue with special teams could be the ball bouncing the wrong way.
Yeah.
I imagine you've had a little bit of reaction to your Q&A with Rank Carthon. So first of all, just, behind the scenes, I guess. So basically you just approached him in the locker room and said, hey, can you talk for a few minutes? And is that how it went? And then really, what did you think of, first of all, how is Kaharski not like there? Like, hey, I want to question too.
Yeah.
Like, how did you escape his clutches? And then what was your takeaway from Rand's answers to your questions?
I mean, I can't imagine that people care too much about the nitty-gritty of beat dynamics, but I will say that people were talking to Arden Key, and he was on the exact opposite side of the locker room, and I waited to see when nobody was looking to make my approach. So a little bit of sneakiness on my part.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think we love that stuff, right?
We do.
We love that stuff.
That's
Good
a job well done.
Well done.
But no, I more than anything appreciated him saying yes. So I will give him that credit there. I don't know. If he had said the ball bounce thing after Chicago or after New York or after Indianapolis, I probably would have agreed. I mean, it's tough to say that when you've just lost by 38 points, but football is such a complicated game. And the ball bounce thing, yeah, it's true that when the ball hits the ground, there's about a 50-50 shot of who's going to pick it up. There's no real correlation between offense and defense. Like, fundamentally, that is accurate. And beyond that, the Titans needed a lot more than ball bounces to win that Detroit game. I wrote this Sunday night. I think that the thing that's frustrating about the Titans right now is you look at the issues that they had in those close losses to Chicago or New York or Indy, and you look at these last 2 weeks against Buffalo and Detroit, and the Titans haven't changed a bit. The only thing that's changed is that Buffalo and Detroit are much, much better than those teams were at the beginning of the year. So when you're 1 ball bounce away or you're 2 ball bounces away against those teams, when you're playing Super Bowl contenders, you're 5 and 6 ball bounces away. And that's not a competitive football game when you're 5 and 6 ball bounces away. And so you can look at, oh, the fumbles went the wrong way this time, or you can look at, man, that interception Rudolph threw in the first quarter was a mistake. He shouldn't have let go of the ball. And these are repeat offenses. These are things that the Titans were doing in September, and they're still doing them heading into November. And I don't know if they've got another team like Buffalo or Detroit on the schedule, but when you got Minnesota and you got Washington and 2 games against Houston and some of these really, really good teams on the schedule, you're going to need more than ball bounces. You're going to need to have the ball bounce and also correct the mistakes on special teams and correct the turnovers you're making. And you're going to need to do so many things more to actually improve, rather than just get to a baseline of get better than you were when you played week 1 against a rookie quarterback who'd never played in the NFL before, or when you were week 2 against a team that has since fired its coach. Like getting back to that baseline of, oh, if the ball bounces our way, you're still average at best.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So Nick, obviously, I mean, you're 1 and 6 if you're the Titans. You know, the deadline's coming up next week. You look at the schedule, and it's just hard to find many more wins for the Titans on the schedule right now. And in the meantime, you got a first-year head coach that's trying to navigate all that and manage all that. So what do you make of the challenge for Brian Callahan as they move forward here with what is going to be a tidal wave of negativity from the fan base and what could include a lot more losing coming up? How do you kind of view the challenge he has in front of him in terms of managing that and getting through that on the other side?
Yeah, I wrote about this morning. It's like there's so much comparison made to what happened in San Francisco in 2017 or Cincinnati in 2019, Detroit in 2021 of, oh, well, those teams lost a bunch early and figured it out and turned it around. So just have that patience of Dan Campbell did it and Kyle Shanahan did it and Zach Taylor did it. So if those guys could start 0-10-1, Titans at 1-6 really isn't that bad. So I understand that part of it, but the Titans have such a unique situation compared to those teams of none of those teams went and spent $280 million or whatever it was heading into year 1. Like those were teams that were very much built young and saying, let's go from the ground up. This is a Titans team that was sold as we are trying to compete right now. And I think that's what makes it tougher for Callahan is that he comes into a year after 9 months, 10 months of hype of, oh, this team is going for it. This team isn't trying to start from the ground up. And when you have players who are ostensibly supposed to be in their prime of a Ridley or Snead or Cushenberry or Pollard or some of these guys who you went out and got, that makes it tougher to say, oh, well, if you start 1-11, but you finish 3-2, you're building for a future because these guys are going to get better. Because we have no guarantee that these guys aren't at their best right now. They could have a long prime, but you look at positions like receiver and corner and running back, these necessarily aren't your long shelf life positions in the NFL. So I think that makes Callahan's position even tougher because you're selling, I'm building for the future. I'm building for next year. We're not stacking up these draft picks. We are trying to have this stockpile of young talent for the future, but your core isn't necessarily future leaning. And that makes it tough for people to grab onto. Well, you got Latham, you got Sweat, you got McCreary and Brownlee, and beyond that, not too many pieces that you look at and they're like 25 and under, and this is going to be our Amon-Ra St. Brown, or this is going to be our George Kittle, or this is going to be our Joe Mixon, that those teams that you compare yourself to had. And without that already existing young core, I don't know, it's going to be an uphill battle to sell the, well, we're 1-11 or 2-10 or whatever it is, but look at all these pieces that are going to grow.
No, absolutely. It's a great point. I do think obviously a lot of things right now would look different if the quarterback play were better this year. What do you anticipate? Do you feel like, from Will Levis, do you feel like this break could help him at all? Where do you think it's going with him?
No, I do think that the mental reset's going to be good for him. I am very much a man of my predictions. And I spent the entire year saying, hey, September and October might be rough. Let's give him a chance in November and December. So I'm still giving him a chance. We knew that there was going to be an adjustment period. The adjustment period was a little bit worse than we expected, I will say. But I am still giving the grace of this was always supposed to be a learn-on-the-job situation where he is given the chance to emerge late in the season. That emergence has not happened yet, but it's really not that late in the season yet. So I say give him the chance. I say let's see if he develops the way that we thought he might. And if he doesn't, you have a really, really tough situation, really tough decision to make in January and beyond. But until I see that full scope of a season, see that arc, I am so not ready to say let's start over and burn it down.
Nick Suss does an outstanding job covering the Tennessee Titans for the Tennessean. Nick, really good stuff as always. Appreciate you taking time to be with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Yep, Nick Suss from the Tennessean, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll react to what Nick had to say, more of your thoughts to get to on the Titans as well. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
and you bring in.
She okay?
She is okay. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I pace when I'm on the radio, live radio. Mistakes are made. Yeah, I don't know. Long answer. I don't know if you fix the problem. You address something by making a change, but I don't know if that fixes anything.
I just want you to know, especially because she's okay, that will absolutely become a drop that we will very much enjoy in the future.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
That's almost as good as me blowing up a chair on here.
We appreciate so much the hazards that people go through to join us here on our esteemed program. Nick Suss fighting through it. The cat showing some toughness in the last segment. We appreciate it.
We should have asked her name. I hope nameless cat is okay.
Seems to be.
I'll find out.
As long as it's not Toonses, we're good.
Well, it's a great cat name, though.
It would be a great cat name.
My wife's college roommate's cat was named Toonses, obviously after Toonses.
Yes.
So there you go.
There you go. We appreciate the sacrifice of Nick Suss's cat for us to put together a very good segment there with Nick Suss. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. So, I mean, we asked about that yesterday, Joe. It seems like Nick Suss just kind of walked up to Rand Carthon in the locker room and was like, hey, you want to talk? And he said, yeah, sure. Why not? How about that?
Kaharski, Auden, what you want trying to get traded out of here? What? Huh? And over behind his back, Nick Suss is just absolutely crushing him with the Rand Carthon interview. Oh, PK.
What are we doing?
I can't wait to give him crap tomorrow. I will do so respectfully, though, because we don't want PK to feel disrespected.
We must make sure to not schedule a guest for tomorrow at 7:30 either.
I got to go back. I got to go back and look at PK's interview with Arden Key. I hope it was really good.
I
hope it was really worth it, PK. While Rand Carthon's spilling the beans to Nick Suss on the other side of the line.
I mean, I will say, I watched Arden Key play Sunday. I was like, man, this guy's playing like a guy that really wants to get out of here, man.
Lions, please trade for me.
Please come get me. Hey, Dan Campbell was pretty excited yesterday at his press conference. They asked him about, like, hey, could like a move be coming? And he was like, I don't know. Could be. Might happen.
And then someone tried to ask another question, and Dave Burkett just no. Seriously. Is something happening? And then Dan Campbell did a little jump.
Yeah, he like
the
jumped
podium.
up in the air.
Could be. And he jumped.
Yeah.
Really
maybe it's Arden Key. Who knows? I mean, if Arden Key plays like that every week, you'd take him.
If that's what you saw of him and you didn't see much else,
I was reminiscent of like the Andre Dillard days. It's like, wow, this Arden Key is just lighting up
right.
training camp.
Yeah. Or
what's going on?
He did have the one game in New Orleans last year. We're like, holy cow, what a signing.
Yeah. He played great.
He
Sunday.
He was one of the bright spots for the Titans, along with Calvin Ridley.
That was about it. I'm trying to think if anybody else really stood out.
Pollard.
NWI.
Pollard was very good, as he has been. NWI. There was some offensive line play that was actually not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they rebounded from, I think, maybe their worst week against the Bills to not be bad. But again, the Lions don't have edge rushers, so you got to keep that in mind.
As Stilly has pointed out on Twitter, I asked Nick Suss in the last segment about Colt Anderson. I mean, Colt Anderson has not been fired by the Titans.
Nope.
Brian Callahan got up there yesterday and talked about, watching film with Colt and working through things with Colt. So, I mean, it tells me that he's not going anywhere. But as Stilly points out on Twitter, remember that since Amy Adams Strunk became controlling owner, Ken Wisenhunt, John Robinson, and Mike Vrabel were all fired on Tuesdays. I thought Vrabel was fired on Monday. I guess I'm misremembering that. But apparently all fired on Tuesdays, according to Stilly.
Did we then, and I'm asking you because I truly don't remember, on Black Monday proclaim that we were right all along? Told you, idiots, Vrabel getting fired. Come on.
Don't think so. I think we were still in wait and see.
Still kind of like, okay, let's see how the week plays out.
I will say we did not anticipate the Tuesday that John Robinson got fired, that he was going to get fired. That is something that we did not predict.
For sure. I'll also say I know for sure that the special teams firing that we previously alluded to, which was Bobby April
Yes.
in 2016, was definitely a Monday.
Right.
That was definitely like, or it might have even like happened Sunday night, but Monday it was Mike Mularkey talking about it. No.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Amy didn't tell me to do this. No.
I don't think it's happening this week.
No. The way Callahan answered the question, no, he's not. And so, like I said earlier on the show, I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that Brian Callahan's impulse would have been to fire him anyway. I mean, look, Mike Vrabel didn't want to fire Craig Ackerman. At some point, it finally had to happen. But, I mean, to me, this was only happening with interference from above.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because beyond the coaching part, and, Nick Suss laid it out, it is at times, particularly on special teams, kind of hard to divvy up the blame of, well, all right, how much of it is the coaching? How much of it is the players? And, Brian Callahan did get up there and say, they were having such a problem protecting the punter earlier in the year that they did sacrifice some speed to make sure that they're getting the punt off. So there's that you're contending with as well, which is not good.
That is an interesting,
an interesting development there. But Stonehouse, right? Like Stonehouse clearly can punt it a mile. The hang time by the numbers has not been great. Callahan talked about it yesterday. It's right around 4, and you need it to be more than that. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. But I guess my point at the end of the day is, like, whether it's the hang time, it's the adjustments you've made to try to protect the punter, you can blame the players and the roster to a point, right? But doesn't that also come down to coaching? Like, isn't that what you're paid to do, is to find solutions to all that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just,
like, don't you have to work with Ryan Stonehouse throughout the week and be like, hey, man, we're going to drill this into your head until we can no longer drill it into your head that you have to get more hang time on these punts.
Right. Like, I typically, and this goes back to the Ackerman stuff, like when Stilly was trying to like blame him for missing field goals. I'm like, I'm taking specialist performance for the most part, good and bad. I'm not going to credit, like, again, Justin Tucker. No one's, well, I guess Baltimore.
Nick Folk's kicking great under Colt Anderson.
No, that's right. Great kickers. Mark Mosley won 82 NFL MVP. No one was like, oh, that's special teams coaching of Washington. But you're right. When it's something that is compromising your return units, I mean, you have to work on it with them.
You got to fix it.
Yeah. But I think, again, even with that, just some of the gigantic drive a monster truck through it lanes that are developing in these returns. Again, just I understand that they could break down the film for us and say, here's all that. But like, you have to, as a coach, you have to deal with that stuff. And it's an interesting point that Suss had there about, trying to focus on protection so much that you don't have speed. But it's like really, you're only asking people to like get in the way of someone for like a second or 0.8 of a second and then run down the field.
Yeah.
Like in these punt blocks, they've had just like, here you go. Here, can I vault? Here, just step on my hand and I'll vault you to the punter so you can hit him. I mean, it's like, I don't think you need to like put in Peter Skoronsky, to be able to get this done.
Latham as the personal protector.
Yeah.
You will not get back here to Ryan Stonehouse.
Hey, Tavondre, I know you got to play on the next series, but we really need you on punt, buddy. Yeah, I mean, this definitely,
I'd love to see it.
Little fake punt with Latham thrown to Sweat. Can you imagine?
Good athletes, both of them.
Yeah. So yeah, it goes to coaching, and like the focus this week, and especially this week, and then we'll see if they can have an event-free day. But like through the season, like the sensitivity of any sort of miscue in special teams is and should be high.
Yeah.
Like you're so out of mulligans. You're me on the golf course.
Yeah, it's not good. There was something else Suss brought up that's generated a lot of reaction that I want to get back into coming up next. We'll do that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. Lance in the YouTube chat. Termination Tuesdays is what you can call it. Wizenhunt.
Terminations and tacos, everybody.
Robinson, Rabel. I mean, when was Malarkey fired? I guess it wasn't on Tuesday. If he's not in Stilly's list. It doesn't have to be Tuesday.
It was definitely during the week. I do think that was Monday. They played that playoff game in New England on a Saturday night for sure.
Yes.
And so I do believe it was a Monday.
Okay.
So it's not every time with Amy. By the way, I have an update for everybody concerned about Nick Suss's cat. Her name is Reese, and he wants it to be clear. She stuck her paw out from under the bed, and I clipped it. Didn't full on step on her back. We can make that clear.
Okay,
so.
she's fine. She's just seeing what's going on.
That said, those details won't necessarily be remembered, Nick, when we play that over and over again for our enjoyment. But
sometimes the truth doesn't really
good
matter.
To know. Exactly. Yeah.
We're just going to play.
Oh,
now,
I stepped on my cat.
I will say, it really doesn't approach you breaking the chair. I mean, that was, I know. You're trying to get yourself out of that. You breaking the chair was my favorite moment in the history of this program.
I know. I need something else to replace that for embarrassment, and I probably won't get it.
Nick Keyser can confirm that Mike Malarkey apparently fired on a Monday.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Speaking of Nick Suss did bring up his interview with Rand Carthon. Lots of reaction to that. We continue to get it. I mean, we got some of it when I was talking about the Preds, and Dave on the text line said, maybe puck bouncing the wrong way for the Preds. Bad bounces of the puck. The bad bounces of the football. As Nick pointed out, I think what we're seeing the last 2 weeks here, it goes beyond the quarterback. It goes beyond bad bounces of the ball. I think it just shows you the gap right now between where the Titans are and where the elite teams in the NFL are. Buffalo, very, very good. Detroit's better than very, very good. Detroit is probably at worst the second best team in the league right now behind Kansas City.
I think they're both better than very, very good. You're just a Buffalo hater. I think that could be the Super Bowl.
I think Detroit's better than Buffalo.
Maybe, but I mean, like Buffalo, like
they're good. They're
Buffalo's
really good.
Got to be, aren't they a top 4 team?
They're really good.
Right now,
look, I will raise my hand and say that I missed the boat on picking Buffalo to take a step back this year. It turns out Josh Allen is very good.
And so is Keon Coleman, by the way.
Yeah, Keon Coleman has a heck of a catch
he
made the other day. But it shows you where the Titans, to varying degrees in both games, got off to good starts, right? Like in the Buffalo game, you had a 10-point lead. You were playing really well. And then, on a dime, it turns. Detroit, it's 14-14 early in the second quarter. And then you go through this stretch where you can't cover anything on special teams. You're turning the ball over. Like, it just shows you how big of a gap there is right now between the Titans and some of these upper echelon teams. And, it's not going to be that way Sunday. There's not a huge gap between the Titans and the Patriots. Now, that doesn't mean the Titans are going to win. Like, the Patriots, I thought, did some impressive things this last Sunday against the Jets. But right now, and Suss brings up another point, which I think is a really good one. We've talked about the Lions in 2021. We've talked about the Niners, like some of these other teams that they've been compared to going through this right now. And some of those teams did have like foundational, young, mostly skill position players. And the Titans don't really have that right now. Like, they've got a left tackle that you feel pretty good about. They have Devondre Sweat that you took in the second round. We'll see on Skoronski. Like, I do think Skoronski has played better lately, certainly than he was earlier in the year, but he's not playing like, the all-pro that you hope he is when you take him number 11 overall. There's just not only a gap right now between them and the top teams in the league, but there's a lack of young talent coming up behind them that makes you think this is going to be any level of a quick fix.
Right. So I'll go back to I agree, but I'll go back to the offseason with the spending, and this is where you can get into spin from these guys now. There's some truth to it, but the roster needed a ton of work to be competitive. So they went and got some guys. It's not like they got a whole bunch of super expensive old guys. They got some guys who could play for you for a few years. If Snead, best case scenario, works out, you've got him for a few years. In the NFL, again, in the NFL, you got like a year to be terrible, and then you should at least be okay the next year. That's just how it always is. And if you continue to be terrible, then there's something wrong with what you're doing. But Snead, Ridley's another guy who's young enough, but he's getting paid. But I mean, he's young enough to like give you some more years, right? So, but I'm with you. I mean, as far as like who is your young on rookie deal core, it would be Latham. You'd have to include Skoronski with hope that he's that. And personally, I wouldn't even throw Chig in there. He's serviceable,
He's
but that's about
player.
it.
Yeah.
Brownlee, McCreary, Sweat.
Yeah. But even amongst that group, like
it's small.
It's not a small. It's not a big group. And like how many of those guys are like foundational players? Maybe Latham.
I think Latham, and you hope Sweat, but I don't know. I mean, right now Sweat's a good player,
right?
But I don't know that he'll be that,
right?
So no, that's exactly right with what Nick was saying, is that's the difference between this situation and those other situations that got really good. So the answer is, first of all, the guy we're missing though, of course, is Levis, right?
Right.
Which I know that everyone's given up on him, but I think it's a good thing that Mason Rudolph has been meh here. He's had some moments. Like there's just I can't see how any Titans fan right now would have any interest in seeing him quarterback if Levis is able to quarterback. I think the same thing about the Colts.
Yeah, this idea that not playing Mason Rudolph's been holding you back from a playoff spot, I think we can safely put to bed now. Like it's not, that's not what it is. So I'm with you. Like as somebody who is out on Levis, I would still probably rather see Levis play this weekend just to see what it is as they move forward here.
I mean, it is possible for people to improve.
It is.
It happens in quarterback in this league.
I don't think that he has shown enough. You know, we talked about the young core. I don't think he's shown enough to be in that conversation. I don't think he's shown enough to prove that he belongs in there. We got somebody talking about Spears. I mean, I don't think Spears. Like Spears is okay.
Yeah.
Spears is the second best running back on a team. He's what he is right now.
He's clearly the second best back on this team. He's pretty good. He's a third-round pick. Yeah, I mean, I think he can be part of your team. But to me, foundational.
Spears is not even close to a foundational player.
They need to be, the core. They have to be starters, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that Spears will be a starter, like the best back on an NFL team in his career.
David says, why do you leave Simmons out? When would you say
because
Chris
he's
Jones
not
is foundational? Well, Simmons is not a young player.
Right. I mean, he's on his second deal. Well, yeah, when you would say Chris Jones is foundational. Yeah, look, Simmons, Landry, I mean, those guys, again.
Foundational young player. It wasn't just.
Right. We're talking about guys on rookie deals who you're moving forward with. But, Simmons, Landry, Hooker.
And by the way, Simmons
Ridley,
is not playing like a foundational player. Like to put him and Chris
not.
Jones in the same sentence right now is laughable. Like they're not close to the same player.
Yeah, the answer is Chris Jones is a great player and Jeff is not a great player at this point in his career. But yes, I would agree that if you're talking in the next few years, sure, Simmons, Landry, Hooker, Cushenberry.
Yep.
I mean, some of these veterans who were getting paid, yes, they're also part of the group. But again, these other teams that Nick was comparing, we're talking about the young guys just fresh in the league. And I think the Lions in particular, well, the Niners too, are great examples of like drafting was so good and so critical to that growth.
Well, and we've talked about it. You've missed the boat on that. And that's ultimately, if the Titans ever get out of this, that's what it's going to have to come down to, right? Like, you can go work around the edges in free agency, and who knows, maybe they sign some veteran quarterback this offseason that immediately makes a difference. I mean, we saw him do that with Tannehill, right? Like it's a different situation, but in some ways it's similar, right? Like you're reaching the end of the rope with Mariota, and instead of having to go draft somebody else, you brought in Tannehill and he ended up working out. Now, maybe you can find lightning in a bottle again, but bottom line is for them to get back into contention, they're going to have to draft their way into it. All right. That's what it's going to take if you're the Titans.
Yeah. And look, the QB thing, not not to get in the draft too much, but if you got the number 1 or number 2 pick and you're able to get a veteran QB, a Matthew Stafford, a Darnold, then you can trade down that pick and get a bunch more picks and just load up your roster. That's not the worst scenario.
And Marcus free agent after this year.
Ooh, that'd be great. So you
Come back to where it all started,
be
baby.
able to
He's only
watch
30.
Marcus play. No, Marcus
He's
is
still got plenty of football left in him. He's
I mean,
only 30.
That's the funny thing is, we make fun of the rankings, that Stilly took words out of my mouth and twisted them. But the number 1 and number 2 backups in the league are got to be the number 1 and number 2 pick from 2015, right?
I will say, Jameis looked good the other day. And the one game that Marcus has played in this year, he's played really well.
He was great.
We're talking ourselves into it.
1-2 right there.
I mean,
Just like they were 10 years ago.
I'll tell you this. I would rather watch Marcus play quarterback than what we've seen so far this year. I can guarantee you that.
By a mile.
I would rather do it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll have more on the Titans coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dylan on the text line. I hear that there's this really good backup quarterback playing for the Packers right now. Maybe we could bring in that guy and he could turn this team around. He could be our new version of Tannehill.
There you
Dylan
go.
on the text line.
Great idea.
Jordan Love.
How about that Malik Willis, though, huh?
I mean,
pretty awesome to see.
It really is.
I know for Titans fans, like, you're sick of players going elsewhere and doing well, but
yeah,
you gotta be happy for that guy.
I mean, that's a great throw he made the other day.
It was,
now,
and
granted,
apparently
Jaden Reed was totally wide open, but a great throw nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a great play.
Yeah,
he snuck out of there, but my understanding is so Willis checked to that, right?
he
Like,
checked
saw
it.
something.
Yeah, they drew it up on the sideline and he checked it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, good for him.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want to have a real conversation about this, there are some examples of the Titans completely blowing it and letting players go elsewhere and be great. A.J. Brown is easily the number one on the list.
That's correct.
Malik Willis, I don't believe at this point, but you know what? Again, people get better over time. He's gotten better, but I don't think he's going to be like a long-term starting quarterback.
No.
I still don't think so, but good for him.
But one thing we always talked about with him was, can he turn into a functional backup quarterback? And he has absolutely been that.
Yeah, that's, think about that. Like this summer when it was, it's obvious like he's the third guy and they're trying to make it a competition, all that stuff. But that was really a question. Like, is he going to be, is someone going to embrace him as their QB too? I wasn't sure of that at all.
Either.
And now, actually, I mean, he might have a nice market for himself, as a coveted QB2 based on this small sample size. Good for him.
Winning games. I got one texter that says, no more veteran quarterbacks. We need a young franchise quarterback, which I would agree with.
I get it.
I would look back through the Titans history, though, and just think about how difficult that is to pull off. They tried it with Vince Young. Didn't work. Jake Locker. Didn't work. Marcus Mariota. Didn't work. Will Levis. Well on the path to not working right now. That doesn't mean that you stop and you give up, because eventually you got to find one in the draft that works. I'm just saying, like, it's not always just as simple as, oh, well, don't worry. You can go draft a quarterback. The hit rate right now, not very good with the Titans doing that.
It's not. Now you look at the best teams in the NFL right now. Well, let's see. We talk about the Detroit Lions, the best team in the NFL.
They didn't draft their guy
right there. They didn't draft him. He was a discard. He was an absolute discard of the LA Rams. One of the best teams in the NFL right now. Well, released by record. If you watch them last night, Russ. I mean, I'd given up on Russ. He looks pretty good. Now, most of the other teams
drafted
that are at the top. Now, another team leading their division, the Atlanta Falcons. Another guy, another example of someone who can play. You got to pay a lot of money for him. Another team that's right near the top. Of course, we talk about them a lot. Minnesota Vikings, 5-2. Another guy who's been discarded. And look at him, a team that's been pretty good this year. Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
Another guy who was discarded and eventually. So I mean,
Tampa.
It's
Baker. Yeah.
Another guy. There you go. And they're right.
There are multiple ways to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like half of the good teams, if not more, have that situation. So, well, I agree. Of course, you want to draft a great quarterback and have him on the rookie deal and all that stuff. But some of that depends on. First of all, again, way more likely it's not going to work out. But also, in a given year, depends on what the actual draft class is.
Well, look at, and beyond all that, I do think it's a fair question. If things continue to go the way they're going right now, how much confidence do you have that this current setup of Carthon, Brinker, Brian Callahan are the people to draft and develop the quarterback? I don't know what the answer to that is, but if it keeps going the way it's going right now, that's going to be a legitimate and fair question to ask by the time this all rolls around.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I know some fans are on the, please lose. Let's get the number 1 or number 2 pick train. That cannot be a half second of consideration in the building, and it won't be.
No.
They have to win as much as they can possibly win. They have to get back immediately to being competitive. And I mean, I think they're going to beat the Patriots because I don't think the Patriots are any good. But we'll see. Maybe they'll find a way to lose.
I don't think the Titans are any good either.
Well, no, I agree. but I think they're a little better than Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots. But that's if they can perform like they've performed before the Buffalo-Detroit meat grinder. I don't know if they will. But they got to win. These people running this team, they need wins.
They do. There's no doubt about it. And even if they scratch out a few more wins, does it change the overall picture that much? Maybe for them it does. Like, we're probably still asking some of those same questions at the end of the year. But I mean, if they go through the rest of this and how it's going right now, and they've got one more win on their schedule, think about what we're going to be talking. I mean, there's still 10 games of this.
Right.
Think about what we're going to be talking about at the end of that.
And that's where, again, it's going to be such a challenge because, of course, no one likes to lose. These guys are going to keep trying to win. But, when you're kind of out of it this early, but it really is important for the people running the team, how important is it to the players?
Yeah, absolutely. 615-737-1025. We'll have you covered all day long here on 1025 The Game. Joseph, great stuff as always. Jason Big Joe is coming up next. You're listening to 1025, 1063 The Game.